Rockinboxes presents, and this week my guest, unbelievable, a special guest this week. He played Greg on the show, The Real McCoys, and he went on to become the cute little Eddie Munster of the Munsters. As well, you know, please, everybody, I don't know what else to say. This guy's fantastic. Please say hello to Butch Patrick, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Butch? How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How about yourself? How's everybody?
We're good. We're good up here in Niagara Falls, and I'm excited. I can't wait to meet you at Niagara Falls Comic-Con coming up. This is great that you're doing this. I want to thank you very much for being on the show. And I'm going to let Butch talk a little bit about some stuff that he's been doing lately, and then we'll get into a little bit of the stuff that Butch has done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last few years have been very interesting and active, very active. First things first, I wound up acquiring the Munster Coach and Dragula tribute cars from a gentleman that I was working with, traveling around the country, and he wanted to retire. He asked me if I knew anybody that wanted to buy them. I bought them last February of 2000. It's been almost 2 years. Touring, crisscrossing the country, doing events. I was always doing personal appearances, but now with the cars, I've elevated it up a step to where we do a lot of automotive things, drag racing, Daytona, Daytona Speedway, things of that nature, car dealerships. But after I bought the cars, I found out that my grandmother's haunted house that I used to live in a little town of Missouri was available. It was actually foreclosed upon, had been vacant almost 5 years, and they were getting ready to demolish it. And I went back and visited the people, made arrangements to acquire the house, which I did last year. And now that would have been October of 2015. I gotta remember we're in 2017, so everything's a year before last. But I wound up getting the cars in March, and then the house in October. Then in 2016, early, I met Leela again. We had met in 2014 out in the West Coast. We started dating and traveling the country together, and we wound up getting married last year, September 10th. So in a pretty short period of time, I got the cars, the house, and the wife. And now we're working on a TV show called Property Horrors with Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington and Young Jung Entertainment, who he partnered up with. So hopefully all of the things above that I just stated will all come into play into a new show.
That's fantastic. And when does that show, when do you see it, foresee it airing?
I see it airing in spring. I mean, it'll happen fairly quickly. We're shopping it around right now. The way they do it is they crunch, for 2 months, you do 2 shows a week for 8 weeks, 16 shows for the season. And then they probably get it out after you do that, probably by maybe early summer might be a better accurate. You never know, but spring or summer.
Wow, you're busy. You're really busy. So that's a good segue into my next question. I'm going to take you back a little bit. Let's talk about the Real McCoys. You were a child actor in the 60s, and you were on, great shows such as, the Munsters, Lidsville. You were even in Bonanza. You've done you did a lot of work as a child actor. Let's talk a little bit about the Real McCoys and what that experience was like. It was directed by Richard Crenna. And Richard Crenna, I mean, he was in the movie Rambo, as Lieutenant Kaufman. Yeah, and he was Uncle Luke on the show. And how was all of that?
What happened with the Real McCoys was my uncle used to supply horses to the studios, and people used to ask me, how did you get in the movies? Did you have anybody in the business get you in? And no, I really didn't. But my uncle, because he supplied horses and we used to go out to his ranch a lot, I could ride horses. And that came into play with the Real McCoys, because they always had me on this little pony riding around going to visit the McCoy Ranch. And the series had been canceled on one network and was resurrected for 1 year. I believe when they were canceled off of CBS, it came back on ABC or vice versa. But when they came back, they had eliminated Kathleen Nolan as Sugar Babe and Little Luke and Cassie. The family was gone, and all there were was Amos, Luke, and Pepina. And they needed a love interest for Richard Crenna. And what they did is they had a widow acquire the farm next door, and the widow had a little boy, which was me. And Luke would spend a lot of time with me and interact with me to romance my mom. So I was over there fishing with the McCoys and hanging out with the McCoys and riding my pony over, and it was fun. And it was a fun little gig. I did about 10 or 15 episodes. I'm not sure exactly how many. Show and went off the air, but I had remembered Richard Crenna because I'm old enough to remember Artemis Brooks, and with Eve Arden, and he played on that. I remember him being that because he was kind of a goofy student of hers in this 50s series called Artemis Brooks. So anyway, he was a great guy. But Walter Brennan was really an interesting gentleman because my mom explained to me who he was, and I just remember him from being a bad guy in the movies. He was like the judge. I can't remember the judge. I'm thinking of the movie. She wore a yellow ribbon, I think was it, and he was Judge Roy Bean, and he was shooting everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to mention Walter Brennan and Jesse White, who became the Maytag man.
The Maytag repairman, yeah. He did the Munster. It was Jesse White was in the Real McCoys? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did my research. Yeah, it said he later went on to become.
He did several Munsters.
Yeah, that's right. There was some credit there for him as well. I was also, so now we're going to move along to the Munsters. How did that all come about? And it was on for CBS for 2 seasons. How did they approach you, I guess, with your acting experience, being on the Real McCoys?
That was a very unusual situation. I had moved back to Illinois with my grandmother in the 5th grade, a small little town called Geneseo. They had looked at a lot of kids in Hollywood. They originally wanted Bill Mumy. Bill Mumy didn't want to do it because of the makeup, or his parents didn't want him to do it. And finally, they had hired a guy named Happy Durman after looking at Hollywood. And apparently they still weren't too happy with Happy. And my agent convinced them that they needed to take a look at me before they made the final decision. So what they did is they flew me out for a screen test. There was no interview process whatsoever. I went straight from the airport to CBS Studios, where I met Yvonne DiCarlo, and she and I tested together. And when we did that, they not only got rid of Happy Durman, but they replaced Joan Marshall as Phoebe Munster, and they changed the name to Lily. So Yvonne and I were last minute additions, and Lily was the name of the wife, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and Yvonne DiCarlo was born in British Columbia, Canada, which is kind of cool. I found that an interesting kind of fact. Now, I was just going to say, she played your mom, for the 2 seasons and stuff. Did you ever keep in touch with any of the members of the cast after the show itself? Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis. Did you keep in touch with them, or was it just you moved on? Maybe because you were so young. I don't know. Back in that time, it wouldn't have been like, hey, I can just text you, how you doing, kind of thing. But
yeah, a couple things happen in Hollywood, even amongst adult actors. You're together for a short period of time, and then a year or two, and then you disperse into the universe, and you may never see each other again. Being a kid, even more so. But I did catch up with him once I turned about 28 or 29. I ran into Fred and Al when they were doing the Munsters Revenge. And after that, then I ran into Yvonne DiCarlo as we'd done a couple shows together, talk shows. So I didn't follow up with them as a kid, but when I became an adult, yes, we became friends again.
And, last year was a pretty rough year regarding people that had passed on and that kind of thing. When these actors passed away, Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis and Yvonne DiCarlo, how did that affect you?
I was sad to see them go, but at the same time, I pretty much accept the whole ball of wax. When people pass on, they pass on. I just tell people they had a great life. They were a force of nature, especially Al Lewis. Fred Gwynn left us way too young, at 66. But he, even at that point, he still had a great life. And, to do something that you're remembered for in a positive way because of, your acting ability is a blessing in itself. So I'm just happy to have worked with them. And yeah, I certainly miss them. But at the same time, was I really, really over the top grief stricken? No, I really wasn't. They were 84 years old. They had great lives. And it was kind of, the process was there. You knew they were passing because I was close to them. I was visiting them and talking to them. Al was in bed the last year of his life because of an amputation during a surgery because of his diabetes. So I knew that he was not long for this world, and the same with Yvonne. Fred was a different story. I wasn't that close to Fred. He distanced himself. He had distanced himself from anything to do with the Munsters because of his typecast. He was very annoyed at being Herman Munster. So obviously he and I didn't hang out a lot.
Yeah. All right. And that's what I meant. You were a young kid at heart. I meant 39 years old. I'm so sorry. You know, I still see you as Eddie Munster. I hate to typecast you in that sense. It's just because growing up as a child.
They just called me that as a kid. It's fine. And the funny part about it is that some people will say, well, did you have trouble working in Hollywood after that where you typecast? And I explained to them, I go, I understand where you're going with it, but think about this. If I was going to be typecast, I would be going over to Disney in velvet shorts carrying Woof Woof and with a widow's peak trying to get work. The makeup came off and I moved on, and Eddie stayed Eddie, and I became a teenager and went on and did other things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you have Woof Woof with you? Speaking of which,
he's in his little coffin case. He's nearby.
He's nearby. Right on.
Yeah, he's nearby. I actually sold 93 of them back in the late 80s and mid 90s to collectors, and now I've got another phase 2 that's just getting ready to launch. We've got the first 2 finished. We've got some orders already, and at the end of this broadcast, I'll do a little plug for merchandise and the book and the toys and all the good stuff and the coffee.
Oh, right on. And you can all go to munsters.com to find that.
Best celebrity site on the planet.
I love it. Do you have a favorite Munsters episode?
Oh, sure. There's
one you had a lot of fun on, one you remember, well.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of them because Leela, with the contests and stuff, I had forgotten a lot of stuff. So to do my research, we both sit and watch a lot of episodes, and we watched Munsters Go Home the other night. But the favorite ones that I had were the ones where Fred Herman was, by me volunteering him to go do things. They like building him up, like Hot Rod Herman, when I told my friend who had a drag racing father that my dad could beat your dad. So Hot Rod Herman was a good one. Eddie's nickname, even though I wasn't doing building Herman up, I grew a beard because Grandpa had given me a pill to grow tall. Instead of growing tall, I grew a full beard, which was a very funny episode because Paul Lynde is Dr. Dudley. And the interaction that he and I and Herman had was a very funny scene. Umbo with Louis Nye as a TV host was a funny show because of the concept of me actually being on TV, watching another TV show, and the concept of me thinking that TV guy's real had the whole, the fourth wall situation. And I love a line in it when I go to the studio and I tell the guy, I go, hey, something's wrong with Zombo's house. It's all crummy. It's not real. The producer goes, real? Eddie, it's television. Nothing's real.
Yeah.
So those three are good. There's a lot of good ones, but those three, I like Herman the Rookie, where he tried out for baseball. I like Country Club Munster, where we win a membership to a golf course and you go terrorize the golf course. And there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. I like Ride of Midnight, where the Big Louie and he comes in and he portrays, he's supposed to be those bank the crooks. They go to the bank.
Movie star Munster with Jesse White.
Yeah.
Movie star Munster, where they think that they're trying to kill him, and he's an insurance scam. He thinks he's going to be on TV. Good stuff.
It was such a great show, and I mean, obviously the show wasn't shot it was shot in studio, like on a movie set, of course, on a set, right?
Yes.
What was it like to be? Do you remember the color schemes? I mean, it was all black and white. So, what were the color schemes like? I mean,
very drab.
Really?
Yeah, the color schemes are both, like you say, it was very dark and dirty and dingy and cobwebbed up. But everybody was Herman's suit was a very dark purple, and the couch was a very dark green, and my suit was a mushroom color, and Al was all black, with the cape. Lily's dress was very gray. It was all very shades of earth tones, I would say. Lots of dust and cobwebs.
I Dream of Jeannie. Do you remember that episode, or do you remember? Were you?
Oh yeah, that was a great episode. Yeah, really bratty little nephew of Dr. Bellows who tortured Tony. and it was funny because I remember I wanted to do the show because Barbara Eden was like yow, and Larry Hagman was so funny that I still could never see him as J.R. Ewing because I remember him as as Major Nelson, and he was so funny, and he did comedy so well. But he was a great actor, and it was a fun show. I was lucky enough to do a lot. I did My Favorite Martian, I did Mr. Eds, I did Gunsmokes and Bonanzas and Westerns and this and that. But I did a lot of quality shows in the '60s. Ben Casey, The Untouchables, a lot of Alcoa color premiere, Alcoa premieres, Disney's World of Colors, things of that nature. When I wasn't doing series, I kept pretty busy. I did a lot of My Three Sons.
Yes.
After the month, I was always Ernie's best friend. But a window of about 11 years, I kept pretty busy.
Talking about the I Dream of Jeannie, did you know that Barbara Eden is going to be here in Niagara Falls Comic Con at the same time you are?
No, but that's great. I've got one of her Genie bottles that I got one of the first issues. The gentleman's been making it for quite a while, and she signed it for me in Hollywood. But I ran into her, of all places, down in Melbourne, Australia last year. I was down there with Barbara Feldon, and I got a great picture of me between the two Barbaras, between 99 and Jeannie. It was great.
That's awesome. So there you go. So yeah, she's going to be here at Niagara Falls Comic Con same time as you, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, of course.
She's wonderful. She's very sweet.
That's awesome because I can't wait to meet her as well as yourself in person. So good segue into this next thing. How many appearances are you going to be making this year that you know of? You're a really busy man. You've got a lot of things going on. And what's your next big date? I know it's this weekend sometime. Tomorrow, I think, or Saturday.
Yeah, we are at the Just Toys, Boys Toys, what's it called? Just Toys Indoor Car Lot. It's a place where collectible cars are on display in Orlando. It's really got some, every car in there I'd like to own, but unfortunately I can't. But I'm going to be down there with my cars, and we'll be meeting and greeting people. I got the Stingray bike that George Barris built with Von Dutch that for Eddie Munster that never made it on screen, but is quite a collectible Stingray bike, probably the most collectible Stingray in the world because it was the first one way before people started customizing them, by the legendary Von Dutch and George Barris alone, makes it quite unique. That's going on. Then we got some other thing. Leela keeps me so busy. The easiest thing for everybody to do is just to go to munsters.com and see the schedule that's posted. But I appreciate you. If you're in the Orlando area, tomorrow and Saturday, there'll be a car cruise tomorrow and a car show Saturday. And I'll be there both days. Wow,
that's amazing. And, so that's all I have for you, Butch. I'm just gonna, some people have asked a few questions. There was I'm not sure if it was a group of people. They're called Two Black Sheep. They were asking on Facebook on Rockinboxes Presents. They're from Valencia, Spain, and they would like to know, will Layla and Butch ever visit Spain? I guess Valencia.
We would love to visit Spain. Tell them to go find whoever puts on the big Spanish conventions and send us their information.
There you go.
Hola.
And, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just hola, hello. Spain.
Hola, hello, yes. ¿Cómo está? So the other one is, which show was better, The Munsters or The Addams Family? Is that a burning question? Is it always been a...
No, it's very. I got two things to say about that. Number one, it was a very unique situation because never had any time in television history had two shows been on simultaneously with similar content. Addams Family obviously was dark humor from the Charles Addams comic strips in the New Yorker. The Munsters was like Leave It to Beaver redone with makeup and studios and monsters from Universal. The good news was whether you preferred one or the other, there's a very good chance you watched them both. So the existence of each one helped the other. So ideally we were a better show, of course. We both helped each other exist.
Wow, that's amazing. And so there was never, was there ever any competition?
Nope.
Nope. You were just the cute little werewolf boy.
They were always trying to catch us. We were always number one. They were always number two, but we didn't mind. We liked them.
All right, so I would like to thank my guest this week, Butch Patrick on Rockinboxes Presents. Thank you to all the people that joined us. We had quite a few this evening. That's really great. Not that many questions, but there you go. You can go get Butch's all of those
Pop
great
vinyl. That's a pop vinyl. All the questions, if you tune in afterwards and you didn't get a chance, this book is a really good book. It's what it is. It's called Munster Memories, a mini coffin table book. And what I did is I integrated all the questions that people have asked at the table, answered them, then brought in some of the existing people that were on the show, from makeup to guest stars to this to that. Then they put in their input, and then the super collectors, who, you know, many of them that come to the conventions and who are friends of mine, shared their collections as well. So you have this really interesting dynamic of what it was like to be on the show, behind the scenes, fan base, professional base, and my own personal input as well. So that's a really cool one. And then we also have, everybody drinks coffee. So we got our Deadly Grounds. See my Dragula, that's my car right on the cover.
Ooh.
On the bag, I should say. The book's got, the coffee's got the bag. And there's lots of other stuff on the website, on the store. We got a really great store. Plus, the fan group is run by my lovely wife, Leela. She has lots of good stuff going on, people, and a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So again, thank you for being on. I can't wait to meet you in person. It's going to be great. Comic-Con, Niagara Falls Comic-Con. And was there anything like a saying that you said as a kid that whenever you grew up, was there anything that you would ever say growing up? Like, was there
Not there. I didn't really have a catchphrase. You know, I said G-pop, you know, throw me through the ceiling again. Or the one that Leela likes is when I came in, when I didn't want to go back to school because I'm never going back, and I get behind the couch and I go, never, 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 never. You could kill me 100 million times.
That's so funny. Well, I want to thank you very much. Again, everybody that was out there, Butch, hang around for 1 second afterwards. Don't hang up. And you guys, at the end, my catchphrase at the end of my videos is be good to one another and love one another in times like these. Boy, I tell you. Anyway, you guys have all been great. You guys have an excellent week, and we'll see you on the next Rockinboxes Presents. Bye, Butch.